Welcome, Extraordinary Church family. My name is Akil Thompson, and I am the pastor at Extraordinary Church, and we believe we are the perfect church for imperfect people. And today is Friday's edition of Live with Pastor Akil. We are helping you kick off your morning correctly. And so what I want you to do, if you have not yet done so, one, I'm so glad that you've joined us. This is an exciting weekend, and we're starting the weekend off right. But before I introduce our guest, and this conversation that we're going to have about going the extra mile, which I'm super excited about, I want to say we are having church in person this Sunday, and we could not be more excited about that. And so I'm telling you, I want to see you. If you haven't already registered, it's full, but it's not too late to register and get waitlisted, because that will give you preference or deferential treatment when it comes to admission next week. Don't worry, next week we'll be going to a 1 and a 3 p.m. And so you'll be covered and you won't have anything to worry about in that regard. But we're going to have a great time today. Really looking forward to how this conversation is going to unfold. And so I cannot wait to share this with you. So I want you to do me one more favor, if you will. I want you to share this conversation. I want you to tag somebody in it. We're going to have a great time, and I'm looking forward to it because we have some of EC's own entrepreneurs. That's right. This is how we do at EC. We have some of our own entrepreneurs here, and we're going to be talking about going the extra mile, and I cannot wait to unpack this. So let me just go ahead and introduce our entrepreneurs and kind of give you a little bit of background, what's going on. I'm so excited to have them all with us today, but I'm excited to have Stephen and Jazmine Funes with us, and I'm also excited to have Raul Cutuli with us. How are you guys doing?
So good. Thank you.
Good morning, Pastor.
Good to see you guys, and I'm so thankful for you. Listen, if you don't know, let me just tell you, Raul owns a company called Cacao Republic, and they make alfajores, and they are a fabulous dessert that is some of my wife's favorites, and he was recently featured on Blog TO. If you didn't see it, it was such a good feature, and so we're super excited that Raul is with us today. And then also, many of you all know that the manna from heaven, that I prayed and the Lord heard my prayer. I said, God, we need a Chic-Fil-A. And Chick-fil-A's have been popping up here and there. And we're so excited because Jazmine and Stephen actually own a Chick-fil-A here in the GTA. And so we're going to have a great time with everybody today. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump on in and talk about going the extra mile. Jesus taught this principle of going the extra mile. And really, you all know this as entrepreneurs and leaders. I tell everybody this: there's no traffic jams when you go the extra mile. But becoming entrepreneurs, the journey was probably very different for all of you. I'll start with Stephen and Jazmine. Jazmine, I'll let you go first. We'll let the lady on this platform go first. How did this second mile principle and doing a little bit more, how did this become a way of life for you?
Yeah, I actually really love that question. So just growing up, I always wanted to help people. I always had like this helping spirit. I had a little sister. She's 8 years younger than me, but also I just wanted to help my friends. If it was a task or a project, I'm like, how can I help? Well, then when I was 16 and I became an employee at Chick-Fil-A, going the second mile is like part of our culture. And so that's when I really was able to understand what Matthew 5:41 was all about. And so when I learned the history of the verse of, going that second mile, the first mile was required, but then that second mile isn't required. When I fully understood that, I was like, oh, wow, it makes sense. So I wasn't only living it in the Chick-fil-A culture, but I was living it day to day as well.
I love that. Stephen, how about you? When did this just kind of become like, hey, you know what? This is what I do. I don't settle. I'm not just going to do what's required. Doing a little bit more. How did that become a way of life for you?
Yeah, I think for me, understanding that 1 mile is expected, but really going that second mile, that's where you get that extraordinary level. And once I recognized how far Jesus went for me, I knew I had to go beyond my own comfort zone to best serve others. I was in the Army in the U.S. for 11 years. a police officer for 5 years in Virginia. And it was in those two careers that I learned how to illustrate that self-service and really push beyond my own limitations to put others first.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service. And I love that. And then, Raul, there's this parallel, and we were talking about that even between you and Stephen's careers as you all police officers. But and I know you're passionate about jujitsu, and you've just got this drive. It's kind of like, I'm going to get it done, and you're not going to settle. You're kind of like a no excuse guy. There's an obstacle. Okay, yeah, whatever. I'm going to push through that obstacle. How did this become a way of life for you, Raul?
I think mostly for me, when I first came to Canada as a new immigrant, you have to push hard. You want to get ahead. You have to push hard. I never want to make any excuses for myself. I had plenty of opportunities to make excuses for myself. I didn't have the language. Even my legal status was iffy at times, but that's life. And God puts you in that position for a reason, and that gives you that hustler mentality, that work hard mentality. It's like, it's raining, doesn't matter. It's cold, doesn't matter. Just get up and keep going, right? I'm getting too old, doesn't matter. You just get up and keep doing it, right? That's the only way to get ahead. And I truly believe that that's God will reward that. God will reward your extra mile, the work you put in, your drive. He will reward it. And if you're doing it wrong, he'll guide you. He'll guide you in the right direction, right? He'll honor that.
Man, I love that. I love exactly what you said, because there's something about going the extra mile. It's uncharted territory, but God has got you. It's like when you go beyond, you're trusting Him. There's an element of faith to this, and you're failing forward because God is growing you. He's stretching you, and I love that. I love that. I've always loved it. Raul and I have always connected because he's just got that grit and that grind. So I'm curious, Raul, there are so many ways we can go the extra mile and embody a spirit of excellence. People are going to be watching this, whether it's in their ministry life, whether we have some other entrepreneurs who are trying to start businesses or get a bit more traction, or just kind of map out a way in their career. Why don't you share a habit or two that you have developed that sustains this extra mile approach? I kind of want to hear from you. What's one or two things? It could be really simple, really practical, but share that with us, Raul.
One of the number one things I would say, it sounds a little simple, but it's wake up early. It sounds simple, but it is. I wake up early. I mean, I wake up early because I can't sleep a whole lot, but even if you can't sleep, you still got to put that thing and wake up early, because it does make a difference. It gives you that extra hour or two. And you hear a lot of people talking about it on podcasts and all that, but I can actually tell you that it works because I do it, right? Even if it's not by my own, it's not because I want to wake up early. My body just wakes me up early. I still get up and get it done, right? In that time, I take care of things like, I make sure I get my prayer done, some stretching, plan the day, and then move ahead. And the other thing that I would say is very, very, very important, it's try to conquer fear, because fear is always around, always, continuously. It's like, I'm going to invest this money. Is it going to go good? Is it going to go bad? It doesn't matter. You have to put your faith in God and keep pushing. If worse is going to happen, you're going to fail, and then you just get up and keep going.
You know what? I love that, because it's kind of like, if you're not careful, you'll allow. Here's what I tell folks: the drink of regret is a bitter taste. You don't want to have that lingering over you. Just go for it. God's got you. Fear will torment you if you let it. Don't let it paralyze you. But I love the practical side of things too, of getting up early. I know for me, if I kind of lay in my day just kind of gets away from me. So I do believe that early is really good. Stephen, we're kind of going in reverse order here. We started with Jazmine, and we flipped it around, and we ended with Raul. Now we started with Raul. Why don't you talk to us, Stephen? What's a habit that you've developed to just sustain that? You know what? This is just what I do. It's a way of life.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, I keep it real simple, and I just ask myself that classic question of, what did Jesus do? And I know an example, like in my marriage, I recognize that me, Stephen Funes, I'm just a vessel. through which Jesus can be a husband to Jazmine. And so I asked myself, like, okay, if Jesus was Jazmine's husband right now, what would he be doing? Or what would he say in this moment? And so I just use those questions to really embody that spirit of excellence, because I'm holding myself to that ultimate standard of Jesus Christ.
Man, I love that. And you know what? He's our model. And I see she just smiling like, No, I'm just kidding. I can see you. You know what I love though is he is our example in every way of life, in marriage, in business, in ministry, in family. So thank you, Stephen. It's simple, but it's a profound question, and it's one that can hold us accountable. Jazmine, how about you? What's a habit that you've developed to just sustain this?
Yeah, so when it comes to the second mile, I have to remind myself a lot that it's not about me. And so I really have to take my eyes off of myself. If you really think about the second mile, that first mile, it's like, okay, I could do that first mile. But that second mile, if you're trying to get back to where you started, you've done 4 miles round trip. And so that requires a lot of sacrifice, and there's not always that immediate reward. And me as an achiever, there are moments in life where I look for that immediate reward, or I look for that pat on the back, but I have to remind myself that my goal is to please the Father.
Wow. You know, I love that it's not about us. And sometimes if we're so, which we can be so self-centered or self-absorbed, it trips us up along the way, and we'll actually miss out. I think our destinies are realized, if you will, and we're probably never more fulfilled than when we're serving others. And if we can keep it about others, some amazing things will happen. Okay, I'm mixing this thing up. So we have a few EC fam friends. I hope you're enjoying this conversation as much as I'm enjoying this. Pastor Trevor, good to see you, man. Thanks so much for joining us. Here's what I want to know, guys. And I'm going to start with Stephen. Stephen, what's the most frustrating part about working at excellence? Let's keep it real, because we know setting the standard, and you all as entrepreneurs, whether it's Raul with his Alfajores business, or we're talking about Chic-Fil-A and that standard. What's the most frustrating part about working at excellence? As owners, as entrepreneurs, just as followers of Jesus Christ, what's something that you've experienced that just frustrates you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, really just knowing what excellence is good enough, what level of excellence is good enough. And there's really just a gray area between excellence and perfection. And so one way that I really combat this frustration is to just simply have a growth mindset, because as long as I'm striving for a standard of excellence, God will fill in the gaps for me.
Man, I'm done. That's the truth. And you know what I love about that is perfection can never be attained. People say practice makes perfect. Well, we know that's a lie. But what practice does do is practice makes progress. And this is where when we are growing, like you mentioned, that development, that's so good. Raul, what about you? What's one of the most frustrating parts about working at excellence?
I think one of the most frustrating things is that it's like any good progress, it takes time, and it takes you can't measure it sometimes, because it's the movements are so tiny that you can't really see how much you're moving forward sometimes, right? But I think the trick lies into just keep doing it, right? And I always think that sometimes I feel like we in the church, we're almost like cheating, because whatever we do, God's gonna bless it anyways. So we always have that extra boost, right?
Man, I love that. You know what? Favor isn't fair. The anointing, that spiritual empowerment, like you said, bro, we've got every advantage because Jesus Christ is our source. God has got us. And it's just what Stephen said too. Hey, I'm going to do this unto the Lord, and I'm going to watch God do something amazing. And it's like, it's the ultimate cheat code. It's just like, people are like, how did you do this? And I'm like, if you only knew. I didn't. I'm trying to tell y'all, Jesus did it. And so you're right. And Raul, we've had conversations where we've seen God do amazing things, and we're just like, look at this. Look at how he's blessing and growing the business. It's the ultimate cheat code. Jazmine, I want to hear from you. What's the most frustrating part about working at excellence?
So this is a conversation that me and Steven have continuously, pretty much from the time we got married. We've known we wanted to go into business, but one of my weaknesses is trying to aim for that perfection. And so there were so many times that I would confuse or blur the lines between excellence and perfection. Perfection isn't achievable. And I have to just remind myself that, but striving for excellence is. Excellence is measurable, but perfection is unreachable. And so when I'm able to define those things in my life, like, okay, am I reaching for excellence or perfection? I know how to pivot. I know how to adjust. So I truly believe that when we challenge ourselves, when we grow, when we set goals, and when we do our absolute best every time and let God do the rest, we will achieve excellence.
Look, touchdown. I love that because that's just it. That's just it. Trusting God, doing your best, doing it unto the Lord. I love that. And let me say this. I think one of the things that's pursuing excellence is a frustration. But the frustration is the tension there, the resistance to help you grow. That will always be there, but you're absolutely right. Those lines can be blurred. And as long as we realize it's not about perfection, but it's about development, it's about progress, we're going to win. And so you all are owners of Chick-Fil-A. By the way, look, for those that are in the Greater Toronto area, I found out, always in the states get everything first. And so I was excited when I found it. I was talking with Jazmine and Steven, and I said, give me a little insight. Give me a little, give me something on the Chick-fil-A. What's going down? And they said, man, we're going to have, or they already have them now, the spicy chicken strips. I said, what? Spicy chicken strips? And they're here in Canada, not in the U.S. yet. So get you some spicy chicken strips because you're going to enjoy them. And my folks that are watching in the States, they'll come to you all in a little bit. That's just how we do here. Y'all get them in a little bit. So, but you know what? Here's what's great. I'm going to land this plane. You all, both of you really are in launch phases of your businesses. And Raul is really hitting kind of momentum growth, if you will. This is so exciting. So I want to hear from you in this regard. While it's not possible to do everything with 100% excellence, we talked about it. You got to enjoy the journey of pursuing and instilling the spirit of excellence in your cultures, in your businesses, as you're recruiting and hiring employees, in your families, in your relationships. So here's what I want to know, because how do we decide I'm not settling for ordinary and I'm going to model a spirit of excellence? I am not going to settle. How do we get to this place where it's kind of like, you know what? Nah, settling is, we tell our EC fam, we're allergic to average.
Yeah.
We're allergic to average. So how is it that you're determined? Jazmine, we'll let you start landing the descent of this plane. Tell us, how is it that you're never going to settle? How do you never settle for ordinary and model this?
One, you recognize that there's so many people around you that you can influence. And so you begin to exercise your level of influence. And you can do that through inspiring people, developing them, empowering them to come alongside you of this journey. And when you do that, there's this level of accountability where you hold them accountable, they hold you accountable. And that level of excellence, the goal is that it never dies or it never goes down. But ultimately, as business owners and leaders and people of influence, it's good to see what is the long-term effect when we develop and we inspire people. We're changing lives. Literally, we're changing lives, we're changing hearts, and then ultimately that can affect future generations.
Amazing. Wow. That was, I'm like, man, that was good. Others. It's really all about others. And it's true. The accountability when you invest in others, Man, there's so many leadership things that are popping up that I want to say, but I know we got to get ready to land this plane, and you all have been about it early this morning. I know y'all got things to do. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time. Raul, I'm going to come to you, and then I'm going to let Stephen land the plane. But how do you, whether it's, your jiu-jitsu training, whether it's, servicing and being in that first responder, or this growing Cacao Republic and the impact that you're having on others, how is it that you're like, you know what? I am never going to settle for ordinary. I remember having a conversation with you, and I was like, where are you getting your ingredients? And you were telling me, and you were like, it's got to come from this specific country, this specific manufacturer. It's like you were determined. I'm not settling. So how is it that you model that spirit of excellence and decide I'm not settling for ordinary?
I always look at as a never-ending road. Like it's something that it doesn't stop. You never stop growing. You never stop learning. And when it comes to, when I was working as a police officer, I always took care of my presentation and the way I treated the public. That was very important because I always thought it represented God. So that fairness, it always came from thinking, okay, we got to prove that. Is that the right way to talk to people? Is that the right way to treat people? Is that, is that fair, right? So that's all you need to be a good police officer, to be a good whether you do jiu-jitsu or whether you run in a business, you have to have that, I would call that goal of thinking, is that approved by God? Is that what he wants? Is that what he would do? Am I representing him in the right way? Is my business representing him in the right way? Meaning, am I giving a quality product? Am I pricing it fairly? Am I saying the truth to my clients, right? And that applies for everything.
I love that. And what you see there is the character and the integrity that you're modeling. If it's first responding, jiu-jitsu, family, my business, my pricing, does all of this give God glory? And we're going to present something to God that's excellent. So good, so good. Okay, bro, I'm throwing the ball to you. Stephen, I'm going to let you land this. I'm going to let you land this plane. Tell us, how do you not ever settle for ordinary and model a spirit of excellence?
Yeah, bro, to keep it simple, man, I just want to make Jesus and Jazmine proud, bro. They motivate me to be the best version of myself. And quite frankly, since I don't know the last day that I'm going to take my last breath, I might as well just maximize my efforts and enjoy the journey.
I'm done. That's so good. What's great about this? What I love about all of these live with Pastor Akeels is that everybody's so authentic, and I know that this is genuinely who each of you are. And I hope that I know this conversation about going the extra mile is really going to help people, because especially as entrepreneurs and those that have a desire to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, this is something that I believe fundamentally, if they will embrace and align themselves with and understand that everybody will do what's required. I tell my kids, it's kind of like showing up on time or going to work, or even for adults paying your bills. That's what's required. But going the extra mile, separating yourself from the pack. As Christians, if we will obey God and get in alignment with that, and then he anoints it, it'll be supernatural, and the results will be supernatural. So this has been so good. Thank you all for taking time out of your morning this morning. I really appreciate it. EC fam, share this conversation with someone. They're going to be blessed and inspired to pursue Jesus Christ and follow him as they go the extra mile. Raul, we appreciate you. I want to shout out Cacao Republic. If you haven't already, follow them on Facebook. Buy something. Many of you all have had it. You might be wondering, man, what these tasty desserts, we told you about this Argentinian dessert, and you all were texting us, throwing us up like, it's so good. Now you know as to who's behind it. And then Chic-Fil-A is coming to Scarborough, and you want to be there at the Scarborough Town Center. EC fam, when the day comes and it's grand opening day, we're showing up. We're showing up. It might be a little bit of a drive for some of y'all, but we're showing up, and we're going to represent and get them chicken spicy strips. Praise God. We're going to have a good time. So we appreciate you. Everybody have an amazing day. And Stephen and Jazmine and Raul, you all hang tight for a moment. God bless everybody.
Bye.